So I guess first and foremost, as Richard said, I do hope somehow people have managed to get some form of relaxation break from it all, or a kind of sugar-induced chocolate overload for the Easter weekend. I somehow managed to create what my son told me was the best Easter egg hunt indoors and in the garden that I've ever done. Perhaps he was being nice, but it was quite a challenge, so I was quite proud of that. But yeah, I guess for today, and welcome to all those that are joining us. I've also, Richard, just to say, somehow lost how I see the comments, so perhaps if you can just help me out with that if we get any questions coming in, please.
Yeah, I'll monitor that, don't worry, and I'll
Lovely, thank you. So yeah, I just wanted to share, I guess, my thoughts as a business owner, and therefore our own experiences in UHR, as well as my HR expertise, for in any way that we can to support people. We are, I guess, just trying to promote the UHR brand, as the first slide shows. We're vibrant. You know, we're always keen to help, and if any way we can help to get over the humps of any employee situations that people are facing right now, more than happy to do so. I'm also, just to let you know, offering up 15-minute slots. Is it right to say priority for B4 members, Richard? I don't know, but
I think so.
But even if you know, there's no obligation with that, I just genuinely want to try and help wherever we can, and that's really been you know, proved to be a good exercise, getting to meet new people, and dealing with all sorts of different queries. For me, the gratitude that people show in giving them a helping hand is tremendous. So I just wanted to offer that up as well. Richard's got my contact details, or we're on social media or via the website if you don't have my details.
Well, we'll share this presentation later if you're happy with that, Jonna.
Okay, yeah. With
this video and your contact details, so whoever can get in contact with you direct.
Okay, lovely, thank you. So the next, if we're happy to move on, do excuse if my humour isn't to everyone's liking, but I guess I just wanted to try and convey how it feels for me and many others that we've been speaking to for the first few months of this year. And we know, you know, people refer to it as unprecedented times, uncharted territory, and despite working in HR, you know, with people for what, 20 years now, it's just like nothing that any of us have ever seen before. So I'm by no means trying to be the expert here. You know, we are at times finding our way through together, and it really can be an uphill struggle. I've got my own team. Whilst with regards to UHR, we took the decision to move this 5th week that we're in now of working remotely. I would not underestimate the impact on you know, well-being if you are able to work remotely. So there's been all sorts of different challenges for me as a business owner, as well as for supporting clients and those in our network and community that are looking for support. But I guess I just wanted to try and emphasise the fact that, you know, we're in it together, and whilst I don't think anyone's trying to be that expert, I think collectively we can work through and find our way together. So whatever the situation that you're going through, like I said, whether it's adjusting to work from home, if you're dealing with difficulties like layoff or short time or furlough, you know, a complete business close down, I'm hoping that these slides will help in some way, shape or form, and give hope to an extraordinary situation. So with that in mind, I guess I wanted to centre, I've got a few slides on these subjects afterwards, just really concentrating. We've got the 4 service lines in UHR. For those of you that might not know us, our brand is vibrant. Our strapline is it's all about the people, and communities at the heart of all we do. So hence why, you know, I'm not limiting the amount of time that I might be able to support those out in the community, but also just trying to do it in the most supportive and hopeful way that we can. So I won't deny the brand is carrying a heavy heart. We've had some real challenges supporting our clients and some of the other situations we've come across. We support SMEs, public sector and not-for-profit. And, you know, in, I guess, the wider family kind of community and friend sense, there's some real difficulties that are going on out there. So again, I wouldn't underestimate, you know, nurturing and supporting yourself as a business leader is vital, particularly as that journey goes on. You know, if you've recently had to make changes, if you've made changes right from the beginning, like I said, we're into our 5th week in UHR of working remotely. I really cannot emphasize keeping an eye on wellbeing is key. So you can see that down at the bottom, maintaining engagement and keeping an eye on wellbeing. I'm going to spend some time looking at change, being the business leader that we want to be, but most importantly, looking at and reassessing all the time the business impact from an employee perspective. Richard, you've mentioned you send the slides afterwards, and I guess if there's anything else that I can help with, then perhaps let me know and I can follow up with that. I'm trying to, as I share these slides, we can all obviously, you know, have a good mosey on through the government's websites and the latest information that's being provided. And I can't help, this isn't a political statement that I'm about to make. I'm just, I guess, feeling for others as well, i.e. those in Parliament that are trying to provide support to a multitude of situations. So, you know, it's hard when there's grey areas from the guidance that's being put out there, and that clarity therefore is key. So I guess it's again back to that point of navigating our way through in any way that we can to support individuals. So with that in mind, I just wanted to let people know that from today, again, I'll gather up any questions. We've got a dedicated webpage on UHR's website. We work very closely in partnership with our legal partners, Moorcroft and Hempsons, as well as our financial partner, Modus Accountants. So, you know, we're trying to look at every perspective of a business from a people perspective centrally, and put that information out there and generate frequently asked questions on our website. So first slide to look at then. And some of the questions to ask you all out there around, I guess, your business continuity and how often you are looking at your business continuity plans. If there are areas of your business that are being able to continue, if there's critical functions that support them, how are your staff aware of those, and how are you ensuring that that's kind of documented in your plans for all to see? So, you know, your key procedures and your processes can continue to be followed from an employee perspective, whether they've got a financial connotation attached to them, if it's health and safety compliance, if it's HR reporting, i.e. your sickness, your annual leave. If you are in a position to still be recruiting at the moment, are you still ensuring that your employment checking will be undertaken? You can't do that physically, so how are you going to do that virtually? Return to work if absent, you know, how are you going to do that virtually? So I guess there's elements of your business continuity plan that details how business is continuing, and just making sure that that kind of document captures everything that is relevant for this period that we're all working through. We've seen a lot of situations where people that we've spoken to, clients and people out in the community as well, where they're struggling to get hold of someone, contact details aren't up to date, or next of kin isn't, or emergency contact details aren't in place. So obviously things like that for business continuity is vital. And backup plans as well. I don't know if you experienced it, but we did in the first week, Teams, Zoom, they were all getting a real hammering. So, you know, having those backup ways to maintain communications with your staff is key. And sometimes a good old pick up the telephone and give people a call is the easier way, so you don't get too much lag time or disruption. Making sure that obviously you're following the government advice and relaying that to your employees, and most importantly, you're keeping and fulfilling your duty of care to your employees, whatever the circumstance. And as the situation changes for you as a business, as more guidance comes out from the government, that you're continuing to communicate that. I'll come on to kind of methods of communication and being mindful of the use of social media and burnout later on when we talk about wellbeing. But I guess as a business leader, the point I'm trying to emphasise is lead the way for the communications that you want to go out to your staff. Also, in terms of looking at your policies and procedures, terms and conditions, and the kind of statutory obligations on that side of your business continuity. So I've mentioned so far about policies and procedures being an essential document for your staff to refer to. They might need to change for this period of time. So you might need to adjust who's approving certain things or who's reporting into who. You might need to look at DSE assessments and how they're being, in a pragmatic way undertaken if people are home working. Making sure if home working is set up, you've got that obligation to keep your staff safe and well. So how are the insurances from your business perspective covered? People need to look at their own home insurances. Is it safe and secure in terms of networks, etc.? So these are all kind of spin-offs of where you need to kind of concentrate for your employees as a business leader, as I'm sure a lot of you have already done or are in the process of doing. But hopefully the slides kind of capture all the headlines of the areas that you need to concentrate on. If you are able to operate remote working, where do you need to have those policies and processes in place? If you don't have them in place already, you might need to make reasonable adjustments for people with disability, for example, or other protected characteristics, and look at how if work is continuing, how is that being supervised, how is it being maintained, if people got the right equipment to undertake the work, how are you making sure that I guess on a more softer side that your employees genuinely feel well as best they can under the circumstances. We've got a home working questionnaire again. I can send that out. Richard has going out with the slide pack if people might find that useful. It's an adaptation from Chartered Institute of Personnel Development, just to, I guess, keep a sense on people's well-being whilst working remotely. Sickness absence management and sick pay, it should continue under your normal procedures that you should have in place. If you haven't got it in place, you need to make sure you've got sick reporting procedures in place. Following obviously the government's guidelines for the regarding isolation and periods of where sick pay may be required. If you've got occupational sick pay, obviously do continue to pay that where possibly you can, or as a minimum statutory sick pay should apply. And of course, I'm sure you're aware that's now from day one. We've always recommended to our clients that self-certification should start from day one from a tracking perspective to really be able to assess the well-being of someone's absences and why they're absent and how you can prevent and ensure that they're well in the workplace when they do return. Return to work can be done on a virtual basis as well. And again, we encourage that because a lot of our clients are across multiple sites and therefore can't necessarily get somewhere on the first day of return, which really is when return to work should be done. And as I mentioned, that general duty of care for health, safety and welfare should be a central point of your business continuity plans. Other areas of I guess, obligation, statutory entitlement, etc. That we've seen some change under the amendment to the working time regulations due to the pandemic outbreak. And annual leave is now being extended over a 2-year period for carryover. And that could be great for some people. Obviously, I would suggest that you're mindful of the implications that that would have in years to come. So I wouldn't necessarily rush out to do it. I'd look to see what the need is for carrying over such an amount of annual leave. Can people not take an amount of annual leave? Do people need to cancel annual leave? And you need to always make sure you give twice as much time to cancel as what the annual leave entitlement is. You can request that staff take annual leave at a certain period of time. So quite a bit, I guess, of movement around annual leave activity. And yes, one could question, you know, what we're going to use my annual leave for. We're all kind of in the same situation, and stocking it all up for everyone to take at some point in the future is obviously going to have business implications. So it's definitely an area worth concentrating on. Sadly, I need to mention, it has come up for us, the use of bereavement leave. If you don't have policies and process in place, the harsh reality is whether, you know, employees experience, you know, people within their own networks, friends, families, they may need to take some time off. I sincerely hope it's a policy that none of us are going to have to use, but it's inevitable for some. And for some employers, it's going to result in using that in an employee situation. So definitely an area to look at. For a bit more of a positive side of kind of compliance, for statutory obligations, pregnant employees, obviously, you know, your duties don't change. You've got to make sure that your pregnant employees are safe and well, as you would for all of your employees, but particularly given their circumstances. And if there's any risk and it can't be resolved, then it may result in a change in their activity, and they're suspended for reasons of health and safety, up until the point where 4 weeks before due date, where their maternity leave can start to kick in. So keeping a watchful eye, particularly on pregnant employees. Visas, again, a duty to make sure that we've got legal working requirements, so making sure right to work is on track, and if there's any visas in the process of, or EU citizens in the process of getting their entitlement to remain. I'm hearing that there's degrees of leniency coming from Home Office. Obviously, they're on a lockdown, so trying to work through what they can. I wouldn't ignore, I wouldn't leave it. I'd still continue to keep trying to push through where you've got those situations in place, just to demonstrate, you know, you're trying to do the right thing with those employees that are in that situation. With everything that I've said so far, good governance, you know, so keeping an audit of everything is key. Even if it's, you know, information and data that you don't ever need to refer to again, it's always good to have it. It's never an ideal to try and track back and pick up the pieces of an event thereafter, because you never know what's around the corner and what situations might arise. I think other general points, yes, as I mentioned, different arrangements you might be thinking of or have thought of and introduced, layoffs, short-time working. I think people have got the gist of those. Furlough, obviously new to all of us, and the coronavirus job retention scheme, which we're all waiting with bated breath to see when that's going to be introduced by the end of the month. And obviously factored in some form into UK legislation. In essence, you know, furlough is similar to layoff. It just gives an opportunity that you can apply an element of pay to that scenario. some of the common questions that we've been asked that are cropping up around furlough. You know, your employees can do volunteer work or training without jeopardising the furlough payments. The distinction there clearly is that you need to make sure that it's not a provision of service or generating revenue for your business. Obviously, you know, the volunteer capacity out in our communities is enormous. The need continues, however, so if your employees, if they're furloughed, want to go and do some volunteering, then by all means, you know, encourage that where you can, as long as they keep safe and well, social distance, of course. Done all right. I've got to slide 4 before I mention social distancing.
Jonna, can I just jump in with a question that we've?
Yeah, sure.
Peter, can staff go on annual leave while on furlough and get full pay for those days?
Oh, okay, interesting one. So it's a good point, because my next observation on this slide was going to be, you know, employees can take holiday whilst on furlough. It's a complicated situation regarding the pay aspect. I would say, so for example, if you've got someone that's going to be furloughed on 80%, but yet if they're taking annual leave, the annual leave entitlement of their pay in normal circumstances would be greater. So it really depends on the situation that, you know, the employer's got. But to answer the question, yes, you can still take annual leave whilst furloughed. The pay aspect just needs to be worked through, just to make sure that you're not unintentionally incurring a detrimental impact to the employee's entitlement. If they're to receive you know, full pay whilst on leave, then that should be put in place. Yeah, does that answer the question?
Is that okay for you, Geeta? Do you want to come on screen and ask anything else, or no? That's all.
It's Geeta here. Hi, Geeta.
You carry on.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm just conscious of time. We've got 3 minutes and 5 slides, so.
Okay. I will fly through.
Through, and then we can get any more questions, and then, as I say, get the slides out to everybody afterwards.
Yep, sure. Don't be a Wetherspoons. You can read more on this slide. I just wanted to, I guess, highlight just how swiftly the fire can be ignited from underneath you if you make rash decisions, if you don't engage and work with your employees and they end up feeling done to. And particularly if you want to publicly announce what you're standing to gain versus what you're then offering to your employees. He's making a massive U-turn now from having said that he's not going to pay his staff, and embarrassingly so, being asked to answer to Parliament, which is going to be an interesting one to see how it all unfolds. So yeah, don't be a Wetherspoons is my advice on maintaining your good practice and your statutory obligations. I'll move on swiftly then to, I guess, leading by example. Just look at different ways that you can maintain your own resilience and emotional intelligence. So you are that light that continues of hope and inspiration for your staff. It's easy to kind of lose track when the pressure's on. So you've got to be able to keep that and know that you need to take a break, go restock, go recuperate. So you can continue to be that strength for your employees, again, whatever the situation may be. Try and look at different opportunities, upskilling staff, skill mixing, is a new supervision that can be introduced. Give praise wherever you can. We've had some real fun. I've got to be honest with you, I've never done yoga before until the team have introduced that to me last week. We're doing bingo. We've come together more as a team than I feel we ever have done before. And it's not just my ideas, it's me encouraging the team to give me ideas as well. They've done a book club, not my thing, sorry. I said I'd rather continue to watch Boris Johnson's updates or read them. But there's a multitude of different ways that we can make suggestions of how you continue to help to lead by example. Managing change in this situation, best laid plans and all. The key to any change is communication. It's the key to success. and clarity is king with any change. So you've got to make sure your plans are clear, that your staff feel engaged and involved, can contribute. Whether you've got in contracts that you can introduce change, still consult with your staff. Consultation is a means of communication. So, that flow of communication throughout is key. You'll see that on every single one of my slides here. If you're looking at different arrangements like furlough, etc., there's ways that you can support individuals as well. So it might be that people want to volunteer because they've got certain circumstances at home, or if you've got a group of people, even picking names out of a hat and considering rotas, etc., if you're looking to introduce furlough arrangements. Review your plans again, make it form part of your business continuity plans. People's circumstances might change, business circumstances might change. So, it's not a case that you're introducing this change and that's it for this period of time, however long it's going to be that we're still all on lockdown. So keeping that continual review is key. And last but by no means least, if I just have a quick slide through the wellbeing slide. So again, you've kind of seen the nurturing of employees throughout, and maintaining that level of communication. It's the physical as well as the mental health side of things, like we've never seen before. I've experienced it in my own team. I experienced it myself recently when I saw just the hateful comments being put out there when Boris Johnson was admitted to hospital. And I literally just had to down and I wrote an article on LinkedIn and went out for a walk and just took some fresh air in and kind of restocked. So it's vital that we encourage that for ourselves and for our employees, and making sure that we're constantly in the know of what's going on with the level of communication and keeping that grip and control of it, so we don't start to feel that there's dysfunction emerging within the team. That unity is key. And finally, I guess the observation that I would want to share here, we keep hearing these phrases of, this is the new normal, and when we return to normal, I don't think any of us are going to be able to return to what we had before. We will return, but we're returning a different way. And I think, if anything, you're starting to see a whole lot more now around, the gratitude and the appreciation of the small things in life. Do we have to drive into work every day and increase carbon footprints? Do we, have to make sure that everyone's in the same room to meet? Do we have to do the hours that we need to do? Can we not encourage more well-being physically and for mental health as well? So I don't know if we will be returning to normal, business as usual, yes. But I guess, starting to look now of what life can be like when we do return is a real key part of looking at your business continuity as well. Is that okay for now?
Yeah, perfect. Thank you. We haven't got any other questions, but I think it's such a comprehensive presentation that probably answered most of the questions that anybody had. But if you do have questions for Jonna, please do contact her direct. And as she said during her talk, she'd be more than happy to help you out with the particular issues. And we'll get those slides and video over to you later on. So thank you, Jonna. Really, really appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thanks, Richard. Good to see you.
Good to see you too. And
take care.
we're just going to run through a couple of slides just to cap off. So we've got the usual pages on the B4 website. You can pick up latest news and developments. So UHR are fairly prolific on those pages, so you can get some updates there. We've got the B4 90-day membership, free of charge for 90 days if you want to take advantage of access to these talks, which will be gated from the end of April. So well worth getting hold of your free trial membership now, whilst we're still running it. Talks coming up for the rest of the week. They're on the B4 live pages on the B4 website. So do have a look there. We've got lots of talks coming up this week and next week. Register at the button there has been highlighted through Eventbrite, and then you'll get the updates and passwords to access the talks. You can also catch up on previous talks On the same page, we've got videos of all talks that you can click on with the button that you can see there. So the rest of this week, we've got Richard Knight tomorrow talking about running a business is a marathon, not a sprint. We've got Paul Ballinger from STL. Any queries you've got about your IT and comms, Paul's the man from STL Communications on Thursday. And then we've got Jason Kingsley from Critchley's talking about stock market volatility as part of the course. And then on Saturday, we've got Sam Ricketts, actually, a different one on Saturday. Any football fans out there wanting to find out the inside track on how football clubs are coping in this particular time, then please do tune into Sam on Saturday. And on the subject of sport, quick note to Tim Wraith. I know you're on. Congratulations on your run yesterday. I think you raised just short of 1,200 quid, which is fantastic. Obviously, that was for Sobel House. So well done, Tim. Brilliant. Thank you again, Jonna. Thank you, everybody, for joining us. And have a good day. And we'll look forward to seeing you all tomorrow.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.